How are you?
I am as good as I choose to be.
That's a good answer. I don't think I've ever heard anybody say that before, and that's exactly what it is.
I'm reclaiming my choices.
Yeah, I love
Yeah,
that. Okay.
so that's how I am.
Yeah,
How are
how's your
you?
I'm doing well. I am doing well. There's a lot that is shifting in my life right now, which you kind of talked about a little bit
Mhm.
already, but yeah, I think I'm doing well. I'm choosing to be well
Mhm.
is actually that's exactly
Mhm.
what's happening.
Mhm.
So I love that you said that because I think that's exactly what's happening for me. It's like
Yeah.
I'm choosing that I'm gonna be okay in this season, because I've been through this season before and I've chosen not to be okay, and it doesn't make it any easier. So this time I'm gonna choose to be joyful through it
Yeah.
and see what God does in the process.
Mhm.
Yeah. So
Different outcome, different mindset.
yeah, 100%. Exactly.
That's what I'm learning.
Exactly.
I'm like, oh, if I see this different, then I can experience it
It's
different.
different.
Okay,
Exactly.
I
Exactly.
got it.
Yeah. Yeah. How's your week?
It has been slow,
Okay.
and I think it's interesting because it's intentionally slow.
Okay.
And sometimes I struggle with slow versus stop
Mm,
in a sense of, I know that we don't necessarily talk about work, but I will say because I have my own business, sometimes I struggle with slowing down
right.
versus
Of
stopping,
course.
detaching my worth
Yes.
from my work.
Yeah.
And so I intentionally take breaks.
Hmm.
And I'm on a break right now, and
That's good.
I'm grateful for that.
Yeah.
But also reframing in my mind what a break means. It
Yes.
doesn't mean stop, it just
Yes.
means pause.
Slow down. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, I guess you kind of answered it already, but your battle with the in between of, or the difference between slow and stop, is that something that you've created in yourself, or is
Mm-hmm.
that stemming from society, or, like, I think for me, if it was, I also don't like moving slow.
Mm-hmm.
I like, I mean, I will depending on what the circumstances are, but I totally get how you can confuse the two.
Mm-hmm.
So is that something that you've kind of set up in your own mind, or is that something that is coming in from outside?
It's external for
Okay.
sure. I think it's interesting. Last year when I took a sabbatical, I took 2.5 months off of work
Wow.
to reset,
Mhm.
reimagine,
Mhm.
and redefine.
Yeah.
And it was in that time I read this devotional about the pace of Jesus.
Okay.
And it was basically talking about if you notice the rhythm in
Mhm.
the Bible, it's engage, 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 withdraw, withdraw, withdraw.
Right.
Right. And so that helped me to, again, reimagine what it meant to pause, what it meant to
Yes.
take a break.
Mhm.
I knew that my spirit always was called to that, but what I see is go, go, go,
Right. Of
run into the
course. Mhm.
ground. You're only as good as how productive you are.
Yes.
And so I'm having to think more deeply about whether or not that resonates with who I am
Mhm.
today.
Mhm.
And like we were talking about earlier, I think there is this natural tendency to go against change
Yeah.
and fight against it. And I think it's like you want to, what is the saying, be like water.
Mhm.
So move with it versus go against it. And
Yeah.
so it's not even that I don't like to pause. I think I just see something differently. So
Okay.
I have to understand that it's important for me in my journey. Um, and kind of reject this societal norm of the
Yeah.
constant grind. It's great for a season. I think seasons for
For
everything,
sure.
but understanding again
Yeah. The
peaks
ebbs
and
and flows
valleys.
of it.
Hmm.
Exactly. No, I like that your head space is already there, because it's definitely very encouraging for me. But I think what I'm feeling right now from that is the importance and like the reminder of being in the world and not of it, because being of the world is very much go, go, go,
Hmm.
work, 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 and you keep working until you literally can't anymore.
Hmm.
Instead, if we're going to operate of just being in the world and being of Christ,
Hmm.
then we can actually be comfortable in our rest and understand that me
That's it.
resting is not going to stop me from working,
That's it.
and it's not going to stop anything that God has for me.
Hmm.
So I love that mindset. Is that something that you've always had, or something you had to work towards?
No, it's a daily practice.
Okay.
Yeah, I think when the pandemic came, I had decided to quit my full time job and
Okay.
start my business.
Yeah.
And I always say I was called to do that because not by choice.
Yes. It
It's too
wasn't
hard.
comfortable.
It's
Right.
too hard.
Yes.
And in that season, I started to understand the power of moving slow, and I started taking walks, and I
Hmm.
started spending time in nature.
Yeah.
And those are the moments when I'm like, oh, like when you're in nature and you're just still and you look around and you're like, even though I don't see things happening,
Hmm.
things are happening.
Yes.
You know what I
Exactly.
mean? And like
Exactly.
that is so powerful
Yeah.
because like I go to Kenneth Hahn sometimes
Hmm.
and you go through all these different terrains and there are things that you don't even see that are happening
Yeah.
as you're moving and breathing.
Yeah.
And so I think that walking practice has been really helpful for me. And then doing my devotionals and
Hmm.
really figuring out what a morning ritual and routine looks like for
Yeah.
me to set the pace for my day. And I always know when I'm out of rhythm, when I'm not doing my morning routine and I'm not doing my walks.
Yes.
So it is a learned behavior.
Okay. Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. My next question was going to be, because you talked about having a sabbatical,
Hmm.
and your seasons for that, but I was going to ask you about your daily practices that
Hmm.
help you get to that moment. So I'm glad that you kind of prefaced that already, because that's so important. And you touching on life and things moving, even that you don't see, is so powerful.
Hmm.
Because it makes me think about just how good and how intentional God's creation is, because nature, I think we think about nature and the outside as like something that we get to enjoy,
Hmm.
but it's supposed to just be a part of our life,
Hmm.
because there are aspects of it that do bring us peace, and it's intentional. There's a
Yeah.
reason why going to the ocean is helpful for
Hmm.
people. There's a reason why
Hmm.
taking a hike is helpful for
Yeah.
people. But I think that we just neglect that so often, and I don't know why. A big part of the joy that I had in moving to LA from New York was the option and the opportunity for it,
Yeah.
because I grew up just being outside, and
Hmm.
it brought me so much joy. And, you know, in the moment, you just think, oh, I'm a kid. I love being outside. But when you think back on it and you
Hmm.
get a second to reflect, you're like, oh, I enjoy this because
It's
this is
a
how it's
gift.
designed to be.
Yeah.
Like, this is how this is how I am most fulfilled, because this is what God placed in each and every one of us. This is how we were designed. This is a gift, like you
That's
mentioned.
it.
Um, I love that your perspective right now is just so clear. And
Yeah, it's a journey
yeah.
though, like because this is not something that we're taught. I think
Hmm.
it's something that you discover and unfortunately, but I think fortunately too because I think you hold on a little bit tighter and are a little bit more curious about the things that you learn along the way versus the
Hmm.
things that just come naturally.
Right.
Um, Nature is not something that my mom was like, let's go outside,
Yeah.
when I was younger, or really anything that most of my friends would choose to do. But
Yeah.
finding that sacred space for myself has been a complete game changer.
Do you think that came from uh, your environment growing up, or you being a woman, or like, 'cause, naturally it's like boys go and play outside,
Hmm.
girls hang out inside type
Yeah.
of thing. So I'm curious as to, like, did you grow up in a city, and is that what influenced that, or was it the notion of like being a lady and a girl that kind of?
You know what? I grew up in the Midwest,
Okay.
in Cincinnati, Ohio, and there were there was outdoor, but I wasn't an outdoor person. This
Yeah.
is really something that I cultivated as an adult, as in like within the last 4 years.
Mm,
And I think living in LA, excuse me, living in LA definitely plays a huge part in that.
for sure.
I've been here for almost 15 years
Wow.
and like it is so true. People that live here, you never go to the beach, you take it for granted, all
No,
of the things.
absolutely.
But for me, for some reason, hiking and walking and all of those things spoke to me in the last 4 years,
Yeah.
and have like transformed my life.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm like looking to encourage Telsha in that right now because I will take any excuse I can to get
Yeah.
outside.
I have a
Like,
walking club, so I
oh,
need to
cool.
invite her to
Yes,
that.
you should,
Yeah.
because I think that she will. She just needs encouragement and to know that she can do it with people.
Yeah.
I think that'll get her to be like,
Doing
oh,
things in
okay.
community,
Mm-hmm.
10 out of 10.
Yeah. I'd love to talk about your walking club actually for a little
Yeah.
bit. Did you start that based on what it was doing for you and how it was filling your cup, and you
That's
wanted
it.
to offer it to other people? Is that what
That's
it was?
it.
Wow.
That's it. Like I found such healing in
Mm-hmm.
walking on my own, and my friend Maxine, she's like, she just quotes me all the time, but she has this quote, it's like little things often.
Okay.
And she was a trainer that I worked with for a little bit, and that was really what motivated me. She's like, even if you just walk around the block, like just get
That's
out
something.
and get some steps in, and
Yes.
then slowly increase it over time.
Mm-hmm.
And then once it was okay to go to parks and stuff like that,
Yep.
I incorporated it that way. And I did it for some years on my own. And I kept feeling this nudge in my spirit, like there are more people that need this, similar to
Mm-hmm.
Telsha, that want to do this, but maybe they don't want to do it on their own, or maybe
Mm-hmm.
they don't know how to do it. And I knew I was not going to start a run club.
Right.
Um,
Those two
not
big differences.
huge
Walking.
difference. But I knew that I wanted to do something that was slow,
Yeah.
that really centered leisure,
Yes.
that got people moving and didn't intimidate people, to
Mm-hmm.
get outside and spend
Because
time
it
in
can be
nature.
intimidating, especially if you don't have a plan and it's not something that you do on your own normally anyway. The thought of it is just like, well, where
It's,
do I go?
yep, that's
How long
it.
am I supposed to be out there?
Hmm.
What am I supposed to feel while I'm doing this?
Yeah,
And yeah, it just ends up stunting you, and you're just like, I'll just stay
never mind.
here. Yeah, I'm just
Yeah, I
saying
don't
it's
want to
too
do it
much to think
anymore.
about. Exactly.
Yeah, so that's what it was. It was like I would hear people, or and then well, before it became a walking club, it would be me saying like, oh, you know what, I'm going to take a meeting on a walk, or
Mm,
I'm going to invite this person to come with me, or my friend wants to catch up, let's go on a
let's
walk.
do it on a
I'm
walk.
not going on another
Wow.
dinner. We can go hit this
Wow.
pavement though. So we
Wow.
would go to like Lake Hollywood Reservoir, which is my favorite,
Yes.
Baldwin Hills Scenic Overlook, which I love.
Yeah.
And it would be so like enriching and nourishing. I
Yeah.
don't know. It's like you, the person you're with, and then
Just
the environment
nature.
and
Yeah.
God. And so yeah, so then I was like, you know what, I'm gonna start this after, many self conversations of like, there doesn't need to be another club.
Right.
You shouldn't, everybody's
Yes.
already doing so,
Yeah.
all the things. I'm
Yeah.
like, no, stay in my lane.
Yeah.
This is what I want to offer to my community.
Yeah.
So it'll be a year next month.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
And we've been able to collaborate with some incredible people across the community in different ways.
Nice.
The last walk that we did was with Compton Girls Club, and
Okay.
it was a mentorship walk. So
Nice.
that was really,
I
really
saw that
cool.
on your story actually. Yes, that looks so
Mhm.
fun.
So more things like that, and getting creative in ways to bring other people along on the
Yeah.
journey.
So
Yeah.
how did you combat those feelings that you were having when you were inspired to start it in regards to like, does there need to be another club? You
Mhm.
know, how did you get through that? Because I think that as creatives we deal with that a lot. You know, whether it's a clothing brand
Mhm.
or you know, and not even just creatives, but businesses in general. You know, as we're in the beginnings, I think that's a lot of what kind of just
Yeah.
comes into our
Chatter.
mind.
Mhm.
So how did you like? How did you get yourself through that in order to get to the starting line?
You know what? Honestly, how I navigate everything,
Mm.
pray and then pray and then pray until the feeling is gone. Like that's really it.
Yeah.
I think that there are so many hurdles that you have to, internal gymnastics that happen when it comes to deciding to put anything into the world.
Yeah.
And that is like one small thing that I had to overcome. And it's it is I think it's the most difficult, getting out of your own way,
For sure.
and thinking that something is either too small
Mm-hmm.
or too big.
Mm-hmm.
It's like,
Yeah.
what?
It's always
So,
one of the two.
yeah,
Yeah.
so finding that middle, and really understanding that I was reading Audre Lorde recently, and she's like, there are no new, what did she say? There are no new, what did she say? There's no new things in the world. It's only new ways of them being felt.
Wow.
Right? And so I'm like, okay, like, you know what? As much as I think there's enough of one thing in the world, it's different because I'm doing it.
Yes,
You know what I
exactly.
mean? So I
Yeah.
think understanding that and getting clarity around
Hmm.
that and what I wanted to do a little bit differently was
Yeah.
super helpful along the way. But it's again, like I said before, it's a daily self talk, self encouragement,
Yeah.
self empowerment of one foot in front of the other,
Yeah.
you know?
I love what you just mentioned because I've been referencing this conversation with a friend of mine a lot lately actually. And we were talking about purpose and like your calling and things like that.
Mhm.
And what he said to me was, because I've struggled with that a little bit. It's a topic that I love. I love to talk to other people about it, but I
Mhm.
struggle with it the most, I think,
Mhm.
in myself,
Yeah.
especially lately. And we were having that conversation, and he was like, "You're you're called to be yourself, and that's it. Like what you do, what God prompts you to do throughout that will change, and there's
Mhm.
seasons for
That's
different
it.
things,
Yeah.
but you're just called to be yourself." So because the conversation stemmed from, you know, my past and being a photographer and then a
Mhm.
stylist and all
Yeah.
these things, and me trying to figure out how I wanted to define myself. And he was just like, you don't have to worry about trying to define yourself. Just be who you're supposed to be through what
Yeah.
God has given you the gifts and
Mhm.
the abilities to do.
That's it.
And yeah, one season you'll be a photographer, and another season you'll be something else. But don't allow yourself to feel the need to be boxed into one thing, because
Yeah.
that's of the world,
That yeah.
because that's what is taught to us and fed into us is like you are supposed to pick one thing
Yep.
and you drive all the way into it and you do as much of it as you possibly can
Mhm.
until everybody else catches up and you get the praises for whatever it is. And it's like, no, that's not what it's
No.
about. Um, so yeah, I just was inspired to say that through, everything that you were saying, because I think that it is so true that that there is nothing new going on, and that it's just about how we do it.
What do you bring?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And because we are called to do things individually doesn't mean it that we can't do it because somebody else has already done it.
Mhm. Mhm.
Because individually we bring things to the table that no one else can bring because of our
Yeah.
experiences or how we feel about it or the community. And that's what it's really about. And that's
That's
what I'm
it.
learning a lot is, yes, someone else has already done this clothing line or
Yep.
already done a podcast per se, but they don't have the community that you do. They don't have the support.
That's it.
They're not going to touch the people that you can. And if they were, that doesn't mean that God will, didn't want to call you to it, but that just means that it still needs to be done in a way that only you can do it.
Yeah.
So I love that you started your walk club. I'm so happy to hear that it's almost been a
Yeah.
year.
It's
I
been
think
almost
that's
a year.
so cool.
But you said something that I wanted to go dig a little bit more
Hmm.
on about your seasons of being a photographer and
Yeah.
then things constantly changing. Excuse me.
No, you're good.
I have a I do many things, so
Yes, of course.
welcome to the many things that I do. But I also have a conversation club.
Yeah.
Again, another need that I listen to a lot of podcasts
Okay.
and audiobooks. I'm like an audible listener, learner, all
Yes.
of that. And so this conversation club that I started with an acquaintance of mine is really all about short form media. And
Mm,
then we bring a small group of people together to dissect different topics and themes. And this
I
season,
love that.
our first season was about your relationship to self. And the last podcast that we discussed was the art and science of change
Mm,
on the Life Examined podcast, which is
mm-hmm.
incredible. And the person that he was talking to talked about how you have to look at your identity as a house with many rooms,
Wow.
right? And so we basically had everyone draw a house
Mm-hmm.
and then start putting your identities in different
In
rooms
different
in the
rooms.
house.
Wow.
And one of the prompts that we had was like really thinking about like which rooms are you most focused on, and it's like you can never be in one room 100% of the time,
Right.
right? And
Yes.
so we have to give ourselves live in a flexible way, in a
Mm,
flexible manner that allows us to go betwixt and between seasons, disciplines, interests, like
Yeah.
ideas, concepts, all of that without the rigidity of other people's expectations.
And I think that's what like would weigh so heavy on me because I used to find so much joy in being able to do so many different things.
Yep.
And then something like, I don't know if I was just absorbing too much social media. I don't know. And that's probably what it was. Like,
Yeah.
I would see people making it in one area in their
Yeah.
life. And I would be like, dang, should I have just done that?
Yeah.
You know? And I think right now I'm kind of getting into a space where I'm finding that joy again and operating in my home
Yeah.
and knowing that I can bounce between my different rooms because I also think that as creatives, that's how I think as people in general,
Yes.
that's how we're supposed to
We
operate.
have many purposes and many
Yes,
callings. Yeah.
exactly. And I think it's only when we box ourselves into only thinking that we're capable of doing one thing
Mm-hmm.
is when we start hitting those psychological
Yeah.
and mental
Yeah.
struggles and battles in regards to purpose and calling. And then sometimes it just shuts off.
Yeah.
Like I have a friend of mine and she works a corporate job and,
Mm-hmm.
and all that stuff and it's no shame to
No.
anybody that's corporate work. But I ask her every time I see her the same question. I don't
Mm-hmm.
think she knows that it's intentional, but
Mm-hmm.
I say, first, how are you all the whole nine? And
Yeah.
I'm like, how's work? And she
Mm.
goes, oh, work is work. Like, we don't have to talk about work.
Mm.
Work is, and originally I was like, well, why do you answer it like that?
Right.
And she's like, no, because that's literally what it is. Like, I go to work and basically she has this regiment of knowing
Mm-hmm.
that this is just a job.
Yeah.
I'm doing it because it's a job and
Right.
because it provides a lifestyle that I want.
Yeah.
And I know that after a certain amount of time, I can retire
Mm-hmm.
and I'll, keep making the same amount of money the whole nine.
It's a
Like,
means to an end.
yes.
Yep.
So, but I couldn't help but see the, I want to phrase it properly. I couldn't help but see the lack of joy
Mm-hmm.
within it
Mm-hmm.
in her response in general.
Mm-hmm.
And it hurts me so
Mm-hmm.
much. And I'm just like, it doesn't have to be this way.
Right.
And I want more people to have that understanding. It's okay to do that,
Yep.
but it's important to explore other things at the same
Absolutely.
time.
Absolutely.
And it's only when I see when people aren't hopeful enough to explore
Mm-hmm.
that I get such a soft heart for them because I'm just like, there's so much more.
Mm-hmm.
There's so much more to
Yeah.
life than just going to work Monday through Friday
There's so much more.
and hanging out with your friends and going to dinners on the weekends. Like, just because you know that there's an end at a certain
Mm-hmm.
age or
Mm-hmm.
whatever, but you miss out on so much life trying to get to this end goal,
Yeah.
knowing that, okay, when I hit this mark, then I can enjoy my life. But it's like you get to that mark, and then by that time, you don't even
You're
know.
tired,
You're
too.
tired, and you don't even know what it is that you enjoy.
Yeah.
I'm grateful because I was able to pull my best friend. I was able to pull him out of it
Mm-hmm.
with grace
Yeah.
and with time.
Mm-hmm.
But he was a nurse, and he wouldn't mind me telling the story. But he was a nurse. He went to college, like double major, nursing and psychology. Very smart. Like love him so much. And he would same thing. I'd be like, "How's work? I hate it," because he'd be nursing, and it's just like the hours suck. The things that he's experiencing and seeing are just insane.
Mm-hmm.
Like he would tell me stories. I'm like, "Bro, what? Like, how are you doing this?" But I knew that he had this deeper desire to do other things.
Mm-hmm.
And I saw it because I would notice not only the things that he said, but the joy that he would be filled with when he would see me doing what I was doing.
Right.
And it wasn't that he wanted to do what I was doing.
No.
It was more so just like I had this
Inspired by
freedom.
it. Yep.
And I would tell him, I would just feed it. Bro, you don't have to do this.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to do it. What else I'm gonna do, Jay? How I'm gonna, bro, you don't have to do it. Figure it out. You don't have to do it. And years and years and years of it, and he's finally out of it. And
Wow.
he's no longer a nurse. He's styling full time. He has clients. He's traveling. Of course, there's, like, he's still like, bro, I'm tired.
That's inevitable.
Which it comes with
Yeah.
it. But he has his freedom and he has his days.
Yeah.
And and he can come and visit in LA, and he can come and hang out and, and still work and do,
Right.
and I'm just like, and he'll tell me, he's like, bro, like, this is because of you. And I'm just like, don't do that to me.
Yeah, right.
Like,
That's too heavy.
it is. It's like, I accept it and I love him for it. And at the
Yeah,
same time, it's like God was just using me
that's it.
to get you into your next
Position.
position.
Yeah.
Exactly. So yeah, just all that to say, I really want more people to experience
Yeah.
that, because it's such a struggle.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting because as adults, we have so many responsibilities.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of times we equate having income
Hmm.
as being successful.
Yes.
And of course, like, yes, I need to,
A
these
hundred
bills have to
percent.
be paid on
Yes.
time, all of those things.
Yeah.
But I think there's also a world in which we can do the things that we have to do
Right.
along with the things that we are passion and purpose to
Yes.
do.
Exactly.
And I think we live too much in a binary of either
Hmm.
or
Hmm.
these days too.
Yeah.
And so I think there's such an opportunity. And really, to be honest with you, what I've really been discovering lately is that God lives in the middle,
A
like,
hundred
because
percent.
that is really where faith has to step in and
Yes.
step up. And you
Yes.
have to believe with that just like minuscule mustard seed
Hmm.
in what it is that is in your heart, right?
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I think there's a world for balance, but that's where trust comes in.
Yeah. So what was that journey for you like? Because you mentioned leaving your corporate job,
Hmm.
and again, not to make it about work, but to
Yeah,
make it more about what you experienced mentally and spiritually.
yeah.
How did you get to that place, to feel, and maybe it wasn't comfortable, but how did you get to that place to feel encouraged enough to take that next step?
You know what? I realized that you'll never really be comfortable in a place that you're no longer called. And I had to
Mm.
understand that God had left where I was. And I was like, hello? Are you, where is it that you want me to
Wow.
go? You want me to, I get paid every 2 weeks. Like,
Wow.
okay, so that's what you want me to do? All right, so where are we going? Like, I had some vacation days and I had I actually ended up taking a break before I left because I was so overwhelmed mentally. I took a mental leave of absence. I was
Hmm.
overwhelmed, consumed with the thoughts of leaving. George Floyd was happening. It was the beginning of the pandemic. There was
So
uncertainty. I
much
had to
going
furlough
on.
people. I was making calls to people that were very uncomfortable. And it was just everything hit me at one time.
Hmm.
And I was like, okay, I'm going to have to. It was towards the end of it. And I'm like, you're going to have to make a decision.
Yeah.
You cannot
Keep living
live
like
in this
this.
gray area.
Wow.
And at the time, I was working with a really good friend who was and is the most incredible life coach. And he had been walking with me through a few other seasons of transition. And I'll never forget in this last session before I was supposed to go back to work, maybe I think it was a week before, and I'm still pushing it off. I'm like, do I really want to? Like, I had finally kind of got to a salary that I felt, like
Yeah.
all these things. And he was like, when we get off this call, I don't want you to write a resignation letter. I want you to write a letter basically letting them know that you are moving up. You're not resigning from anything,
Mm.
and invite them on that journey with you.
Mm.
And I was
Wow.
like, okay, what does that look like?
Yeah.
And what does it look like to be in a place where you're no longer resentful to the place that you're in or feeling like you're being underutilized or whatever those negative emotions are, and you alchemize that into, look what God has done in the last 7 years that I've been here.
Right.
Let me sit here and count the ways that I have been blessed, the miracles that I have experienced, and tell that to them.
Wow.
Like, I'm coming back from my mental leave of absence with a letter that's basically saying I'm leaving, but I'm not resigning.
Yes.
And
And
so
words are
I
powerful, and the way
they're
that you,
so
yeah,
they're so powerful.
yeah.
And so I got off the phone and it was like it just poured out of me.
Wow.
And I let them know that this is a story that I'll tell my great grandchildren, what I've
Mm.
been able to do from being, this Black woman manager opening a house in Hong Kong and going and doing these things in Africa and launching like all of these incredible feats that
Yeah.
every time and this was in my late 20s, early 30s, like, and every time I would slay a giant, then I would enter my next level,
Wow.
right? And so, as much as I had so much fear, I knew that, and I'm speaking to myself right now, it's
Mm-hmm.
like I knew that God was going to continue to keep calling me. And
Absolutely.
I know that as long as God is calling me, the way is going to be made, the
Wow.
provision is going to be there,
Wow.
the purpose is going to be
Wow.
revealed,
Mm.
right? And so I left, and it was very difficult, but I knew that as much as God was able to use me and allow me to be a vessel and a vehicle for his light
Mm-hmm.
in that space, I knew that the same was going to happen. And I'm like, oh, I'm just going to consult and figure out what. And we had 3 years, 3.5 years of nonstop. And I say 3.5 because I took that sabbatical break
For sure.
of nonstop word of mouth. I've never marketed, done PR, not just constant
Wow.
business flow, retainers, all of these things. And so it was more when the Bible says exceedingly abundantly,
Yeah, that was what you experienced.
that was it. And
Wow.
so um, as much as there was so much fear, I knew that with that there came some power that was going to propel me through the next chapter.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and that's what's I'm
Wow.
still here being
Yeah.
propelled by something supernatural.
Yeah. There's so much to unpack in that, but I gotta go back to the beginning because, like, just wow, your moment of realization that God was no longer here,
Hmm.
and not because, oh man, there's so much there. Because I feel that when we as people get that sense, because it's a very strong feeling of God is no longer here. There's so many things that go through your mind of like, did I do something wrong? Um, am I, am I not praying enough? Am I not talking enough? Maybe I'm just not hearing him. All the things.
Yeah.
And for you to get to the understanding that he wasn't there because he was waiting for you at your next destination
Hmm.
is so crazy. And like,
It sounds so much more beautiful than it was because it was messy
no,
and
but that's how it is
yeah,
though, and that's exactly how it is, and that's what I
yeah,
mean when I say we go through so many things before we get to that realization,
yeah,
because it is hard and it is difficult, and when God leaves a place, that is when the tornado comes in, because
yeah.
He is the one that was keeping it from happening in the first place.
That's it.
So the storm was always there,
That's it.
circling,
Hmm.
waiting for its moment,
Hmm.
and then God's like, okay, now.
Yep.
And then
Yep.
he's like, I'm going to wait for her here.
That's it.
And I'm going to help lead her to this place. And he knew that you would get there. That's the other thing that's so good about God, is that he knew that you were going to get there. But he was okay with allowing you to go through everything that you had to go through in order to have the faith enough to take those steps.
But the thing about it is the process and the pruning
Mm-hmm.
that happens on the way is the reason.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like I've gotten to this point where I'm like, I submit, I surrender because there's something else that you want me to shed.
Yes.
Like,
Absolutely.
and I think those are the things that I realized in hindsight
Mm.
about what these seasons of preparation and
Yes.
transition and all of these things. It's like, no, it's really refining and
Yes.
molding.
Yes.
He is the potter.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So that I think is like the one thing that I always lean into is like, I have to fall in love with the process
Mm-hmm.
more than I'm falling in love with what I get.
Yes.
Like in the process, the revelation happens and
Yeah.
it's like, oh, God loved me so much. He wasn't going to let that version of me go there. So while he's taking me from here to there, he's also shaping me.
Working me.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, ooh, that's good.
Yeah.
Because friends will let you. Some friends might just let you be out here looking.
100%.
But
and encourage you the whole way through. You got it.
Exactly. But like, I need some tools.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
actually,
Yeah.
I mean, to go off on like a slight pivot for a second.
Yeah.
I've literally had to, not intentionally, but allow friendships to fade because of me recognizing that I was no longer receiving from them. And it could sound selfish in some ways,
Mhm.
but um, I've been very in tune with being sure that my cup is being filled lately. And if there is any relationship in my life that is not, that I do not feel confident in going to receive the tools to fill my cup and things of
Mhm.
that nature, then then and I literally did it. I have to have a conversation, and within that conversation, I will know whether this will continue
Mhm.
or if, and it's not like a hard breakup or anything, but or if it'll just be like okay, like I understand where you are, and unfortunately where I am, I can no longer stay here in this space with
Mhm.
you because I know that I'm being called to something else.
Mhm.
And a lot of that came from the birth of my son, because I had friends, so many friends that I was recognizing were not filling me.
Mhm.
And it wasn't anybody's fault. It was just the comfort of it, you know? And my best friend was one of those people. And him and I had to have that conversation.
Mhm.
And we're better because of it. But some friends didn't make it because of the conversation. And I just had to go off in that direction for a second.
But
But
no, I think that that comes with, again, that's something that comes in the process of
yeah,
becoming, right? The clarity of, okay, in this next level or this next season of my life,
yeah,
I have a new set of core values, or I
yes,
have a new set of qualities that I'm looking for in my relationships
yeah,
because I have a new set of demands in my
exactly.
life.
Yes. And
You
my
know what I mean?
journey's not stopping. And I have to make sure that the people that I'm journeying with
That's it.
are
That's it.
equally yoked,
That's
because
it.
equally yoked isn't just in romantic
No.
relationships. It has
No.
to be in your platonic
Yeah.
relationships as well, as much as possible.
Absolutely.
Um, and as we're just continuing to talk on the journeys, I feel like there's so much here. As you were in the process of refining, how did you keep your mindset? I don't want to say clear because
Mhm.
I don't want to assume that that was the case, but how did you keep yourself focused on what the goal was
Mm.
in regards to getting to where God was? Because I feel like there's, when we go through these journeys and when He's calling us to different places, there's so much that we experience within that journey. Obviously, like the refining and all that stuff,
Mhm.
but through that process, I think the enemy also finds his way
Mhm.
to us as well
Yeah.
to try and hinder us from making it there.
Mhm.
So as you were battling and going through the storms of being refined, but also feeling like you may be even broken down in some
Mhm.
ways, how did you keep yourself focused, for lack of better terms?
You know what? I think self-discovery has been a really big tool for me.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and really taking time to get to know myself.
Mm,
I think that is what really has been super supportive in that refining process. Because again, with the seasons changing, you're changing.
right, absolutely.
And so getting a better idea, because I don't think, at least for me, I never really sit down and say, like, what are your interests,
Mm,
Jennifer? Or
mm,
what relationships are filling you up? Or
mm,
what relationships are bringing up feelings of insecurity or doubt. You know
right.
what I mean? So, really having that time, I think, is where the clarity and the refining comes in. And again, having those practices that I talked about earlier, the
Mm-hmm.
morning routine, going
Yeah.
for walks, spending time at the gym, listening to podcasts,
Mm-hmm.
reading, um, being curious, those things really, really add up.
Yeah.
And so they've been helpful for me to kind of have a better understanding of what my needs are today,
Yeah.
which were completely different
Yeah.
from even when I left my job.
For sure.
And so I would say getting closer to myself, like I always say, self connection is source connection,
Mm,
has been the biggest tool for me to really get closer to, okay, like, because when you get closer to yourself, I think that all of our superpowers is discernment
Yes.
and being able to use the power of discernment to know, ooh, like, and I know that sounds kind of like kooky, but like, when you're being moved or called to do something.
Absolutely.
You know when you feel the Holy Spirit in a place. You
Yeah.
know when there is grace covering something. There's sparks that go off, and
Yeah.
you feel like you're in a flow, and there's nothing, like you were telling me about when you were like, oh, should I film this or should I not? And then
Hmm.
everything just started falling into place. It's like God is making the crooked path straight,
Yeah.
and you just follow the way and look for the remnants.
Yeah.
Um, so I think the more clear you are on who you are, your core values, what you want, what you like, what you don't like, and going through that self-discovery process, it allows you to say, okay, this is the way that I should go because I'm spending time and now I know what feels right for me.
Yeah. That feels really profound, because I think that's where I have been in my journey, again, ever since coming here to LA, because so much of me, I feel like, was being suffocated in New York, uh, because I was chasing a lifestyle, of, oh, I want to do this fashion thing,
Mhm.
I want to be at all the events and do all the things, and New York is the place to be for that. I love New York. I
Mhm.
really, really do. But I began to realize and recognize how much of myself was being suffocated.
Mhm.
And once I got here and being forced to, not forced, but willingly being able to spend time with myself,
Yep.
I was like, I understand it now. I
Yeah.
understand why I was feeling these things.
Mhm.
I understand why I was creeping into a depressive state in New York. And
Yeah.
it wasn't necessarily in the environment per se. It was because of what's personal to me,
Mhm.
and how, in order for Justin to feel safe, and um, in order for Justin to feel like he has room to grow and spread his wings,
Yep.
he has to have the physical room to be able to do it.
Mhm.
And amongst many other things, and a lot of it goes back to, like, being a child.
Yep.
I think that's when I'm my happiest. That's when I have my most
Mhm.
joy, is when I feel like I'm a child,
Mhm.
because I mean, that's so biblical, but I think it's like when I can go outside and play, when I can just go outside and feel the sun,
Yeah.
when I can, it's just all these little things
The little
that
things.
I didn't have the opportunity to do in New York. And it's not like there's no parks in New York, but it's just, it's a different life there,
Different
you
life.
know?
Yeah.
And here is like, I don't have to go to the park. I can step out my front porch. I can get in the car and drive
Mhm.
and roll the windows
It's not
down.
as limiting.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
it's like there's so many more opportunities here that help me. And that self-discovery, like you've been talking about, has been so important for where I am, and it's made
Yep.
room for um, me to do this
Yep.
and feel comfortable and confident in
Mhm.
doing it, and not feel like it needs to happen because I'm suffocated in every other area of my life.
Yeah.
But
And also like being open to it looking differently than what you
hmm
had in mind,
yeah, exactly, exactly. So assuming that you are obviously still in a journey right now,
Aren't we all?
uh, where do you feel as though you're being refined currently? What has that battle and that journey looked like, as obviously you have either arrived or are arriving to where God is
Mhm.
calling you, and knowing that there's still work to be done and that He may call you to something else?
Mhm.
What does that refining look like to you right now?
Yeah, I mean, we talked a little bit about this earlier, but I think this wall that I constantly hit, um, in terms of my Goliath that I'm constantly battling, is how I see myself.
Mm,
Um, and I know that it is something that has the potential to, has in the past, um, get in the way of what God wants to do through me.
for sure.
I think I have, for the longest since I can remember, been the background girl
Hmm.
and behind the scenes
Hmm.
and felt, not seen,
Mm-hmm.
like, all of those things
That was comfortable for you.
that, oh, what?
Yes. Okay.
Pitch a tent. That is where I live currently, but I'm getting evicted.
Yes.
And so that is this constant push and pull of like, stop settling where you're comfortable and stand in who God is calling you to be.
Mm-hmm.
And it is, like I said before, like, because I don't have a blueprint, I can admit that I have some control freak elements to myself.
For
And that's
sure.
also something that I'm shedding
Yeah.
because I'm much more comfortable in what I can control because I know
Yes.
that the outcome has been um, architected
Yes.
with love and care for me. And I'm not going to end up looking crazy.
Yes.
So I think this new season of where I'm going is like, okay, I need to be more comfortable with not being behind the scenes. I have
Mm-hmm.
to be more comfortable with using my voice.
Mm-hmm.
And it is it's a daily work. And in that work, I am seeking people and activities that are pulling things out from the crevices of who
Right.
I am.
Yeah.
So reading, like I told you, I'm reading Audre Lorde, and she was a profound writer and author and being that refused to live a silent life.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I have always been a writer, but I never called myself that.
Wow.
And I'm now like, okay, I am a writer. So what do writers do? Writers write.
Mm-hmm.
It's just as simple as that.
Yeah.
And so I've been writing on my Substack for the past year, not for anybody else other than telling my 12-year-old self it is okay to share your perspective and
Absolutely.
feelings with others. If one person resonates with it, job well done.
Yes. Exactly.
And even, like I'm doing a writing workshop. Who am I? But, so I think these becoming is
Yeah.
like the biggest challenge for me. And also understanding that, like, it doesn't have to look like what anybody else is doing
Right.
or has done.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times I get into that analysis paralysis and compare and despair of like, okay, well, this is like how this looked when they were, got
Mm-hmm.
to be successful or whatever. And I mean, I very much divested from traditional norms of what success is
For
for a
sure.
very long time.
Yeah.
But I think there's always this 12-year-old me that wants to be seen in some way. And so finding what those ways look like for me today, again, pouring into those crevices that maybe I just didn't tap into when I was younger, which is very challenging, but stilling the chatter
Yeah.
is like a constant.
Yeah.
And also not being, I think, and I talk about this with my friends all the time, not being invested in the optics of other people's lives.
Mm.
Um, I think I think I have a healthy relationship with social and like I'm in and out and when I'm on. I do love to share and I think
For
it's
sure.
great for what it provides in terms of connectivity, especially if you have friends all over the world.
Yeah.
Um, but I'm careful that when I start to feel these feelings of like, oh, I should be doing this or I should be this, or then it's time for me to just take a little bit of a break.
Yeah.
So it is a constant journey, but I think that doing all those again, back to little things, doing all those little things adds up and really helps me to overcome this sense of essentially at the foundation of like not enoughness.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know?
So much in there.
Yeah.
I'm gonna start by saying never saw you as a background girl. Never.
Thank you.
Maybe I didn't know you enough. But yeah, even from like the moment we met years ago to, obviously we saw each other sparingly. It wasn't a lot,
Yeah.
but that was never in my mind. So it's interesting to hear that perspective from you,
Yeah.
and to hear that that's something that you are working in and working through.
Hmm.
Because I think that there is a lot that God is calling you to that's going to require you to be more front facing. And it's going to be because of all the things that we've talked about, your community,
Yeah.
and you're not going to be able to avoid it. There's going to be moments and times where it'll be uncomfortable and a little disruptive, to a lot of things, how you feel about yourself, how you feel about the work that you're doing, about a lot of things. But even through all of those feelings, you are exactly who he says you are.
Thank you.
And you are being called not because you are qualified already, but because he has placed an anointing over you that he says is qualifying, not because of how you feel based on what the world says is what is qualifying per se.
And that's the work.
Yeah.
That's what I'm learning is like I spend more time in my Bible and in the Word and in prayer and devotion now, I think, than I ever have in my life because I am trying to reframe what I've learned and the story that I've been telling myself since I was,
Yeah.
however, I'll just keep saying 12 since I was 12. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
so it really is that, like, taking the time to understand everything the Bible is true and what God says about me means more than what other people say.
Absolutely. And as you've been diving into that, and as you have mentioned, like continuing to nurture the healthy relationship that you have with social media, and you mentioning success, how has your relationship with God and you spending more time with Him, how has that nurtured and transformed your thoughts of what success means to you?
It's changed everything because I think like many people growing up and what you see on TV and especially being in LA, what you see as successful from the material is what you think that's what success means, that you have a certain income, that you drive a certain car, you live a certain way. And what I'm realizing is like, not like, it is nice. Let me just say that. Like,
For sure.
Excuse me. It's very nice.
Yeah.
But it's not necessary.
No.
I was listening to a podcast. I love it so much. It's called For the Healthy Host.
Okay.
And one of the questions that one of the hosts asked was, what if God told you he would never make you wealthy, but you would always have what you needed?
So I don't know if someone was recycling this question, but that popped up on my Instagram.
It might have, oh, maybe.
And they were like laying on the floor or something
Yeah,
like that.
that's them.
Okay,
that's
wow.
them.
Okay, cool.
Tim and Ree.
Yes.
They
So I
are
saw
the
that
best.
and I was like, oh, what a good question. Like,
and if you really take a moment to savor that and reflect on that question,
yes.
you're like, I can't tell. I did it. I did it as an exercise. I'm like, I can't think of one time that I've been without, that my needs have never been met.
Man.
I can't think of a single solitary time.
And I go back to that frequently, and because I myself like struggle with that. My idea of success, I find it changing and switching sometimes. And I have to check myself, not only in the aspect of like, do you actually want that, but then also in the recognition of like, you've always had. You've always had. And it doesn't take me to have to go to Skid Row to see it. I can, it just happens. I'm just like, wow, like I've always had. It may not have been above and beyond, and I may not have always been able to go get that pair of shoes, or I may not always have been able to go to that restaurant for dinner, but I've always had. My bills have been paid. There's gas in the car. There's food in the fridge.
There is a car?
There is a car. Talk about it.
Okay,
like, there is a car.
Yeah.
There is a house and all these things. So, yeah, I think I myself also have been, like I mentioned, trying to figure out what success looks like for me, and I've been recognizing the shift in that for myself as well. And it's funny because whenever it goes somewhere else, it always comes back to what it's always been. And I think I started defining success for myself when I was younger, and it was always, I just want a wife and children,
Mhm.
and I want a nice one level home
Mhm.
that fits all of us plus friends
Yeah.
and a huge yard. And then like, a motorcycle,
Yeah.
a pickup truck, a vintage car, and then like whatever my wife wants. Like
Mhm.
that was the idea. And it's still that. And then sometimes, I'm on Instagram like, dang, a Ferrari would be nice. and I'm just
The devil
like,
is a lie.
and I'm just like, Justin, you don't really want a Ferrari.
No.
Like you don't. Like
No.
what you want is an old BMW
Mhm.
and a cool vintage pickup truck,
Yeah.
and that be okay.
That's it.
And, if your wife wants a Ferrari, then maybe it's hers. But or if she wants, a Range Rover, whatever it may be, then like
Mhm.
that's for her.
Yep.
But stick to what it is that you want. And I've been learning that because we mentioned words being powerful before,
Mhm.
that when you are more linear with your desires, I don't want to say you get to them faster,
Mhm.
but the feeling that you experience while you're going there is uh, filled with so much more purity
Mhm.
because you're not distracted as much
Mhm.
of like, well, maybe I do want that. So let me chase after that for a little bit. And it's like, no, bro, you were already halfway to where you actually want. But now you've diverted
Detoured.
yeah, it's like
Yeah.
now you've diverted and detoured and now you got to get back. So it's going to feel longer because you keep going, you know, in all these different
To and
directions.
fro.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like, I've been learning that like, okay, same thing with like my shopping and my clothes and all the things. Like I love clothes. I
Yeah.
love style. But I'm like, I have really just enjoyed less.
Yeah.
And
You get to like the purest form of
mm-hmm.
what success is
Yeah.
once you've experienced
Yeah.
having things.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Like, I think what I realized, like I was telling my mom the other day, because a project came through just in the nick of time.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, I was crying, and I'm like, it's not even about the project. It's about the revelation that God still loves me, still has me in mind, still
Wow.
hears my prayers, still knows what my needs are,
Yeah.
and will never let me go without.
Mm.
It may not be on my timeline.
Yeah.
It may not be when I think it's supposed to
That part.
happen,
Yeah.
but like I will have all that I need. And so that really is what success is. And then you're like, oh, well, like I have all this excess for
Mm-hmm.
what? You
Yeah.
know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, and I think through this process of refining and really having a better understanding of yourself, it allows you and almost thrusts and forces you into living a more thoughtful, a more intentional
100%.
life.
Yeah.
And so it's not that you no longer want those things, but then you start questioning things more like, well, why do I want this? Or
Yeah.
why do I need this? Am I shopping just because I wanted to avoid going home, or am I shopping
Right.
because because I have an event, or am I shopping because I want to thoughtfully add something to, and it's a designer that I love or
Yes.
whatever.
Yes.
So I think that's what ends up happening on this journey when you are open to having a deeper connection with God. It's like you
Yeah.
live a more intentional life.
Yeah. And I love that was the last thing that you said because I wanted to like make it clear, not just for us because I think that we get it, but for a lot of people that um, living a purpose-driven life uh, in all aspects, especially when it comes to success and our desires and things, in God's eyes does not mean that we have less than
Right.
what everybody else has.
Mm-hmm.
It just means that our focus is less on those
That's
things
it.
and more on Him,
Mm-hmm.
and that when our desires are more on Him, the things that we deem to feel successful within ourselves sometimes becomes less,
Yep. Yep.
or even if it is grand, you can trust that He's going to get you there.
Yep.
And I think that it's it's always this like misconstrued outlook that like Christians are poor or whatever, and
Yeah.
it's so weird because
No.
it's like that's not the case, or
No.
like pastors are not supposed to be rich,
Yep.
and it's like honestly they should be,
Yeah.
because they're walking in a calling that is providing for so many other people. So why wouldn't God also provide for them?
Right.
I think it's the same way, and it's like when we focus ourselves more on what it is that he wants for us and more on
That's
what
it.
he's calling us to, then not only will we obviously get there in a more efficient way,
Hmm.
but our lives won't be then filled with all the junk once we
Yeah.
arrive.
And also it's more like, do you want it fast or do you want it for a long time?
Yes,
You know what I
exactly,
mean? Like I think
exactly.
there's this question of longevity and sustainability that I've been thinking through lately as
Mm,
well too, of
mm-hmm.
like, okay, and you see it because everything happens in cycles. It's
Yeah,
like even with my business, like when I first came out the gate, it was just like one thing after another, and da, with a shiny new penny, and then it's like, and DEI and all these things, and
yeah,
then it's like a new cycle. You know what
yeah,
I mean?
yeah.
And so you have to, again, back to finding the rhythm. It's like you find your rhythm in that,
Mm-hmm.
and really rely on making sure that you're looking up and not looking out.
Right,
You
exactly.
know.
Yeah, 100%. That's awesome. Um, so as you have been growing, because you are growing a lot from everything that I'm understanding, like so much. And I know it's not always easy.
No.
It's hard. It takes a lot. It's humbling. Um, what is one thing that you've learned about God
Mm,
through your growth that has transformed the way that you think about Him?
mm. I have learned that God is strongest when I'm the weakest.
Mm,
And
that's a hard one to be
it's
okay with, though.
it's very hard.
Yeah.
And like you said, very humbling.
Mm-hmm.
Um in my darkest seasons is where I feel God's presence the most.
Mm,
And what I remind myself, which I heard someone else say, I can't remember, was like God told them, and as they were coming out of a season, don't leave me where I mended you.
mm,
And so I think what I'm realizing is that if I stay in position of expecting what God is going to do in and through me, I won't have to have so many dark seasons
wow.
because I'm going to expect it. Like it's inevitable when
Yeah.
you are doing work that you're being called to do and you're letting the glory flow through you and you
You're going
are
to be met with
I
something.
yeah,
Yeah.
and I know like our motto is fueled by service. So people are at the center of everything that we're doing. So I know that when I come and I'm interacting with people and I resemble, reflect, and reveal God, there's going to be an attack. It just
Mm-hmm.
is. It's
Yeah.
inevitable. And so I'm learning to quickly return to the throne of grace
Mm-hmm.
instead of letting myself fall in the opposite direction of
Right.
depression, which is where I tended to go toward.
Yeah.
And I had to remind myself that I can only have one God. And so I have to know that in the midst of change and trials and tribulations, I have to lean in the direction of the throne and not in the direction of my own understanding.
Yeah.
Like, and I think that's the hardest lesson to learn because we are human, we live by sight, we go off of what we can see and understand. And that makes it really hard to put one foot in front of the other when you have this vision that you know God gave you, and in front of you is a bill that you know you can't pay.
Right.
Like,
Yeah. No,
what?
absolutely.
So I've learned how strong he is, how powerful he is. I was listening to a sermon by Darius Daniels, and
I love him.
he's so incredible.
Yeah.
And he talked about how we can know the nature of God by looking in the Old Testament by his names. And
Mm,
so he started going through some of the names that God has called himself in the Bible. So Jehovah Jireh, a provider. And I'm like, okay, so when I'm starting to feel the spirit of lack and
go back to that.
scarcity,
Yeah.
I'm like, but Jehovah
You're a
Jireh,
provider.
or
Yeah.
if I'm starting to feel overwhelmed, the other name that he brought up was Baal Perazim, the God of the breakthrough. Like
Mm,
those are the things that I have to really, really lean into to trust and
wow.
know that I'm experiencing things that have already been like God
That's the
sees
key right
me
there. Yes.
victoriously,
Yes.
Jehovah Nisi, the God of victory,
Yes.
and so though like I'm learning so much about what God is capable of
Mm-hmm.
that you can really only learn that in the midst of
Yes.
change
Exactly.
and tests and the things that really put your back up against the wall.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm grateful for these revelations because it's really what is sustaining. Like when
Yeah.
they say the word is living, it's like
It's
eating every
actually,
time
yeah.
yeah. So it gives me the nourishment and the fuel to be like, okay, all right, my needs will always be met.
Yeah.
Yes, yes, they will.
Yeah.
Okay. I am not depressed. I am well,
Yes.
like, and also too, like I was reading something on the way here, a verse, and it talked about, what was the scripture? I can't remember the scripture, but the actual scripture, but Jesus said, you don't have enough faith. But if you had a mustard seed of faith, you would speak to the mountain and watch it
Yes.
move.
Yes.
And so I also love to not test God, but also put it into practice.
Yes, of course.
Right. And so I had an event and something came up that was one of those mini tiny fires that happen when you're in production. And I was like, and it could have been catastrophic, essentially. And it was with like under 24 hours, something needed to happen. Like it
Mm.
was and it was like I was getting on a flight at 6 a.m. It was just, and
Wow.
I had, this was me and my flesh mind. I'm like, I have 12 hours to solve this problem,
Yes.
right? And I felt myself starting to panic and get into overdrive of problem solving and crisis management and all the things that we do when
Mm-hmm.
anything in life comes up and we're just like, oh my God, I gotta fix it, fix it,
Yeah.
fix it, fix it.
Absolutely.
And I was like, nope, I'm doing this differently this time. I am about to speak out loud what I want to happen. I'm going to
Wow.
speak out loud what I rebuke
Wow.
and what I believe will not happen.
Wow.
And so I was like, I was running some errands. I was going to FedEx and Michael's and doing these pickups. And I was like, in the name of Jesus, I rebuke every evil spirit that is trying to come against this.
Yes.
I believe that this will be fixed. Like, I believe that this is going to be the most successful event I have ever produced in my life. I believe that God is going to show up. I believe that the Holy Spirit is with me.
Yeah.
I believe that God is the God of breakthroughs.
I love
And what
that.
looks impossible is nothing to God. Like,
Yes.
I cannot fail because God cannot fail. Like, I
Yes.
just was
We
like,
went there.
and so I'm in the car. It's like, so I have my flight at 6 a.m. still not fixed. The problem's
Wow.
still not fixed. And I'm
Of
just
course
like,
not.
okay, like, whew, okay, all
Yeah.
right, here we go. Like, I made it to my city where I was going. People are calling me like they need to accomplish these things, but the other thing is not fixed. And I'm
Yeah.
like, okay, well, I'm like, reconfiguring and all
Yeah.
these problem solving as much as I can, but also trusting.
Yes.
I'm solving and trusting. I'm
Yes.
going back. Like I was
Yes.
telling somebody while I was in the midst of it, they were trying to help me solve the problem too. I'm like, I'm going between Glorilla and Donnie McClurkin. Like I need, I'm like, I need a little gangster and God, okay?
Yes. No, for
And
sure.
I'm in the Uber. I'm like, okay, like I got my gospel. I'm like, okay, this is something's going. There's no other option.
Something has to change.
It's got to change.
Yes.
So I get to the venue, problem still not fixed, and I'm like, okay, this is sweet, but we're what I was saying to myself is keep moving forward. Despite the distractions,
Keep moving
despite what it
forward.
looks like,
Yeah.
keep moving forward. And I'm working as if it was solved.
Absolutely.
I was sitting, I had almost forgot that it was like the issue hadn't been solved yet.
Wow.
And I'm sitting on my laptop in the front, and an elevator was broken. I'm sitting on my laptop and I'm typing, and next thing I hear was ding, and somebody walked out the elevator, and I ran over and I just start crying. I'm like, "Who, you can't tell me nothing about Jesus. Prayer works." Like I was just like, prayer
Wow.
works. And these people are looking at me like,
What's she talking
what
about?
are you talking? But like, prayer
Yeah.
works.
No,
Like,
it's because for them, I'm glad that you said what it was so we could break it down even further.
yeah,
Because for them, it was just a phone call. Oh, he's got to call the maintenance man. But for you, it was so much farther beyond that because, yes, you have to call the maintenance man. Yes, he has to be able to fix it. But there's so many things that could continue to go wrong to make sure that this does not happen. And it took your faith and you speaking out on what it is that, and declaring what it is
That's
that
it.
you needed and what you believe was going to happen in order for it to be fixed, in order for it to be something quick, and in order for it to, for the bell to ding when you needed it to.
And you know what it reminded me of? I went to Woman Evolve last year,
Yeah.
and my best friend and I decided to stay an extra day and go to the Potter's house.
Mm-hmm.
And they had been singing this song, and it's escaping me right now, but that they wrote specifically for the conference.
Yeah.
and they have a more traditional
Oh, is it
choir.
it's not the Chandler Moore one?
Yes, it's that
Yeah, okay,
one.
okay, okay, okay.
On time,
Yes,
God,
yes, yes, yes.
right? And so I had memorized it by this point, and they were singing it at the Potter's house, but they have a more traditional church, so it had a
Mm-hmm.
little bass in it, little extra soul. And they were singing it, and they were walking off stage, and they're singing, on time, God, you love the impossible. And then all of a sudden, the man in the choir is like, late in the midnight hour,
Yeah.
God's gonna turn it around. And like everyone broke out in the
Wow.
church. And
Wow.
Sarah came out and testified about how God came through in the lake. And I always think about that
That
moment
moment, yeah.
because it
It
may
was
not
in the
happen
midnight
when you
hour.
want to,
Yes.
but it's always gonna happen on time.
Yes.
And I'm like, that is what we have.
Yeah.
I feel like in this season, that is what I'm learning most
Mm.
is trust.
Yes.
Trust when you can't see it.
Yeah.
Trust when nobody else sees it.
Yeah.
Trust when you have a knowing. Like
Yeah.
my friend said the other day, she was like, the season that she's in, and she's like, having a vision and I can't see it, but I can see it.
Mm.
And that's the season that I'm in, is like
Mm-hmm.
that seeing season. And I told my friend, I'm like, in addition to seeing, going back to me declaring what was going to happen,
Yeah.
is speaking season. Like
Yeah.
we must speak what, because I think a lot of times I was telling her, I'm like, I realize out of no fault of my own, it's just habit and nature. I'm constantly saying what I don't want. I don't want to fail.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to, you know, be unsuccessful.
Yeah.
List of
So
things
how do
that
we
I
change
don't.
the language so that it's not about the
How
I don'ts and it's I will not, and speaking
I
more into the
am.
action of, yes,
I
I
have the
already
most
am these
successful
things.
business.
Yes.
I am the most successful owner,
Yes.
according to me.
Yes.
I am serving, my
Yes.
community well. I am well. All of those
Yeah.
things. So that's really what the season is. It's
Yeah.
like speaking season.
It's so I love that you mentioned that because Tasha and I were friends with the Metcalf
Mhm.
family.
Mhm.
And Charles, he will say often, whether he's on stage or even, wherever it makes sense, he will let people know that he and his family have this declaration statement.
Mm.
And it's all of these Metcalfs are blank, and I don't
Mm.
know it because I'm not a Metcalf, but and he speaks it over his children, and
Mm.
his children speak it over themselves.
Mm.
And it wasn't until recent, I always enjoyed it and loved it, but it wasn't until I saw something that he posted, and I think Arlo, his oldest boy, they
Mhm.
were on stage, and he was saying it, and um, he gave Arlo the mic to like say the last
Mhm.
one, and I was like, whoa. It wasn't until like his son said it that I was just
Yeah.
like, oh my God, like the
The
power of
power.
speaking something over yourself again
Powerful.
and again and again and again, even when it doesn't make sense, even when he still hasn't shown up, because that's the part of your testimony with that whole elevator
Mhm.
situation that is so empowering for me right now, because I myself, I get so lost and consumed in the when it's going to happen,
You and everybody
and I
else.
get so frustrated with the when to the point where I stop even declaring things, because I'm like,
Mm.
either this isn't supposed to happen,
Mm.
or it's not my season, so I'm gonna stop asking
Mm.
for it and I'll just wait until it happens.
Mm-mm.
And God's
Mm-mm.
like, that ain't how this works.
No, but see, because God loves glory and victory, right?
Yes.
So the more you continue to speak it and the more you don't believe it,
Mm,
his ability and your will to keep believing for that thing, in the end, he's going to get the glory.
yeah.
So like
It's gonna
it's going to
happen. It has to happen.
so you're blocking God getting the victory
Wow.
by not, you know what I
Yeah,
mean?
no, that's so true.
Not speaking it. And it's scary because it feels nuts.
Yeah.
It feels
It's not only
nuts.
that, but like it is it's like so hard in uh like it gets so discouraging sometimes, because it's like, bro, I've been asking for this. Like, I don't understand why I'm still going through this. Why am I still experiencing this? Why am I still in this season or in this place
Mm-hmm.
where I know, because it says it in your word, that I'm not even supposed to live in and operate in. I know I'm not
Mm-hmm.
supposed to be in here, but I'm still here.
Yeah.
And then and it just like sometimes it gets to a point where it's just like I I'm not even gonna pray about it anymore. I'm gonna just
Mm-hmm.
wait for it to happen,
Mm-hmm.
thinking
Mm-hmm.
that that's faith. It's like, well, I'll just wait and I'll be patient. I'll wait. And I think a lot of us get to that place sometimes. Where it's like, I'm just gonna be patient. I'm just gonna wait, like
Yeah.
because the word does call us to do that. So it
Mm-hmm.
still feels good to yeah, I'm just being patient,
Mm-hmm.
waiting. But it's that's surface level,
Mm-hmm.
and to go deeper is to go after the no, no, no. I'm gonna speak into this,
Mm-hmm.
speak power into this, and speak life
Mm-hmm.
into this, and I will keep doing it until the vision becomes reality.
That's it.
And I like,
And also, too, I also want to remind you that a lot of times we think that speaking means just using our words, but there is a way that you can speak with your actions,
yeah, that's true.
right? Where
Yeah.
it's like you, I'm just throwing this out there, but it's like, okay, you want to create a fashion magazine.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe you think that it's so far fetched, but you decide, I'm going to start a Substack or I'm going to do mood boards on Pinterest or
Yeah.
whatever. Like, that's still believing that it's going to come to pass
Right. And
through your
preparing
action.
yourself for it. Yes. For the season to
Exactly,
arrive.
through your actions. And I think a lot of time, like I have a my best friend told me, like, because she's probably the one that knows the most about my crazy life of like it be one way one day and then God makes a way and it's all the
Mm-hmm.
miracles.
Yeah.
She's like, you need to like make a note in your phone. So I have a note in my phone. I actually have two. One is called preparation season because I really believe the importance of tracking your testimony. I think a
Wow.
lot of times we think when good things happen, it's like, oh my God, like this is so, and
Yes.
you just almost forget
Forget just
all
that
of the
fast.
mud that you like
Yes.
tread through to get
100%.
there.
Yeah.
And, or, we think that things just serendipitously and synchronicity and all of these things. And it's like, no, go back to your notes.
Mm-hmm.
And I literally can go back to my notes. I have a note from November. I wrote, I sewed $500 into my church, not having it, but I know God is going to bless it and multiply it.
Wow.
And then fast forward to the busiest Q1 that we've had in,
Wow.
since I've started my business.
Yeah.
So it's like those things really allow you to, because I think a lot of times, like we talked about earlier with self discovery, we don't take time to reflect.
Yeah.
And I think that reflection period is so integral in your growth and
Yeah.
like understanding, oh, okay, this is what I need to be speaking, or
Yeah.
this is the action I need to be
Yeah.
taking, or these are the seeds that I need to be sowing.
Yeah, I have a friend of mine that he does that in his journaling life. He says that I journal not only because it helps me presently,
Mm-hmm.
but because I can track myself. I can track my weeks, I can track my months, because
Yeah.
I can go back and see how I was feeling on Monday,
Yeah.
even though today's Friday, and see where the growth or the progression has happened. And understanding that, you know, I mean, he doesn't reference God, but
Mm-hmm.
he can see where God
Yeah.
has what God has done
Mm-hmm.
through that week or what
Mm-hmm.
have you. Um, so that just like that came to my mind, and it's something I used to journal literally every single day.
Mm-hmm.
I used to write in my journal, and the funny thing is I would never go back to them though. And then I have a note card in my Bible, and I looked at that the other day, and I looked at it because it was like a declaration statement of things that I wanted. It was all like physical stuff. But I was like,
Mm-hmm.
I want a home for my wife and I. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I want a motorcycle. I want this. I want
Mm-hmm.
this. And I looked at it. I was like,
I have all those things.
yeah. I was like, wait a second. I was like, I have all this stuff. I was like, what in the world?
Yeah.
I was like, this is so crazy. And I don't know. It's just such a reminder, like
It is.
of how good he is and how good he's capable of being. Um,
And also I think that's it is a, I guess, yeah, a reminder of God being able to trust you with
Mm,
what you've asked for. You know what
yes,
I mean? Like,
exactly.
you're not going to, again, it's not about the things, but there is a level of responsibility that comes with
Absolutely.
certain things. So
Yeah.
it's like that allows you to track your growth and be like, oh, okay, well, this version of me can handle that.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, that's so good. Um, so with everything that you have experienced, and I think that just from what I have learned and seen you grow through, um, what is one thing that you can attribute to your perspective on God and how you see yourself making it through the next stage that
Mm.
He's going to take you to?
I would say my friendships.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, taking it back to relationships and how powerful those
Hmm.
are.
They're
Yeah.
so important, so important. And like you know, Michelle Obama calls it slow ghosting. I've definitely done some slow ghosting in
Mm-hmm.
relationships because, again, my needs are so different
Right.
today. I think I am the most vulnerable I've been while also being the most powerful that I've been.
Right.
And so I do believe that reciprocity is super important,
Mm-hmm.
and having friends that can pray with you, intercede
Yes.
on your behalf,
Yeah.
help you to rise to the self that they see
Yeah.
versus, um, and so I'm so, so, so grateful for the community that God has ushered in my life. And it's like, it is almost, and I know that this is the case, but it's like God has handpicked everyone in my life for a certain role.
Yes.
I have a group of women that I just recently reconnected with, and I prayed for this for Bible study.
Wow.
And that has been fertile ground.
Wow.
It is, it has reinvigorated, like, I pray and I do believe that I'm anointed to say big prayers. I
Mm-hmm.
really do let the Holy Spirit take over, and it has sharpened my prayer life, spending time with them and really getting to experience God as a collective,
Yeah.
versus an individual all the time, and hearing other people's
Yeah.
testimonies from, meetup to meetup,
Yeah.
has been so empowering and uplifting. I think like my best friends are women of God and men of God that know who I am, and really consistently call me to that, um, through, one thing my best friend and I were just talking about was, another Darius Daniels sermon about how important it is to have friends in your life that agitate you.
Wow.
Who wants to be agitated? But like she was just saying, when I see y'all going to the gym, I'm agitated. Like,
Right.
and it's calling her to do certain
Yes.
things.
Yeah.
And even with me, with whatever things that I need to be, whatever area I need to be agitated in,
Mm-hmm.
God brings it to me through my friends, but it's a gentle agitation.
Yes.
It's like a
Exactly.
nudge and a reminder of the
Yes.
things that I should be doing.
Absolutely.
And so I would say that it's definitely my friendships. And when I say I don't take it for granted, I nurture them
Mm.
and uphold them in such high regard and value them. And I know that it was God, because all of the relationships that I'm referring to, the core of them is peaceful.
Wow.
It is like a balm. The it is what I prayed for as a kid who never really, like, I always wanted a best friend, and I always,
Right.
wanted to be accepted.
Yes.
And, that's for another conversation, my rejection issues. But like, these are the people that see me how God sees me
Mm-hmm.
and remind me every chance that they get. And it is a blessing. And I
Mm.
think, not that I've had bad friendships, I think that they just were the wrong friendships
Right.
for who God was calling me to
Yeah. Yeah.
be.
Yeah.
And so I would say like that for me is like the rock
Yeah.
for sure.
I love that you made a difference between the two of like bad friendships and friendships that God is calling you to.
Yeah.
Because I think the harder ones to separate yourself from are the ones that are good, but they're just not in alignment with where God's calling you.
That's it.
And um, because community is so vital, it's important to be able to still not detach, but create some separation
Mhm.
so that you are not pulled into things based on comfort, and so that you are not allowing your relationship with God to be hindered
Mhm.
because uh, that value isn't placed within that space.
Yeah. And the
Um,
Bible says where two or more are gathered,
exactly.
there I am in the midst.
Yes.
And for me, it's like I want to make sure that I'm creating and cultivating the space
Yeah.
to make God welcome.
Yeah.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And I
Absolutely.
think that's when and you realize like it is not even personal, I promise you.
Yeah.
I love you with the love of the Lord,
Yes.
and I pray for you and I wish you. Sorry, did I press that? Is that okay?
Oh, nothing
Okay.
good.
I pray for you and I wish the best for you. But where God is taking me, it requires a different level of perspective,
Right.
insight, and connection to Him more
Yeah.
than anything.
Yeah. That's so good.
Yeah.
How did you cultivate your friend group? I mean, I heard you mention that you prayed for it,
Hmm.
but in real time and in physical, how did that come
Yeah.
about?
So it's interesting. I have maybe three sides of my three different friend groups. So
Okay.
I've got which we share a friend, Marquise Pfeiffer.
Yes. Who is
That
very
is
near and dear to my heart.
so near and dear.
Yeah.
I love him so much.
Yes.
And we've been friends for almost 20 years. And that is like, that is a home for me. All
Yeah.
of the friends that I made
Yes.
when I was in Atlanta, before I met you, I lived in Atlanta from '06 to
Yeah.
'09. So all of those friends from that group, I mean, we're still, and just to see their ascent and still see them rooted and firmly planted in
Mm-hmm.
God, it's really like watching miracles happen real
Wow.
time because we were like 19, 20
Yeah, of
talking
course.
about what we hoped for,
Yeah.
and to see God moving in that way is so beautiful. So I think, when you have friends for decades,
Mm-hmm.
it does require an understanding that it's not, you're not going to be connected 24/7 like we were
No.
in college,
Yeah.
and allowing it to ebb and flow, as relationships do. But keeping that connection and sustaining that relationship is something that's been really important to me. Um, the second group, I would say, maybe more acquaintances, but yeah, I would say maybe more acquaintances, are the people that I met during my time, when I was working at Soho House and
Okay.
doing membership. And a lot of, like, I have the utmost respect for the time that I spent there
Absolutely.
because I made some of the most incredible friends, acquaintances,
Wow.
relationships while I was
Yeah.
there that to this day are still bearing fruit.
Wow.
And so I would say like that is another group. And then my core group of girlfriends, which funny enough, I don't know, I guess in hindsight, it wasn't that I struggled. I think there was a fear of rejection there as well, but I didn't really have like a core group of female friends.
Mm-hmm.
And it started in 2021 actually. With the exception of a few people, I went on a girl's birthday trip
Okay.
and ended up getting really, I was friends with someone but ended up getting really close to them, and that she's a part of my core group. And then my best friend that lives in Paris, we work together
Oh,
at
wow.
Soho House,
Yeah.
and that is she knows all my secrets.
Yeah.
So and I've learned a lot about friendship and what it really
Mm-hmm.
takes to maintain and grow in a
Yeah.
friendship.
Yeah.
What it, that dance of pouring
Mm-hmm.
and serving versus receiving,
Yeah.
because I think both giving and receiving requires a certain level of skill.
Yeah.
Um,
'Cause I don't
so,
think that happens until, sorry to cut you off. I don't think
yeah.
that happens until, I hate to place it on age, but like until you get to
Oh,
like your late 20s and into your 30s, where it's like
yeah.
you start to pay more attention
Yes.
and be like, okay, proximity wise, we may not be as close,
Mm-hmm.
but because this is a friendship and a relationship that means a lot to me, there's
Mm-hmm.
work to be done. And it's okay to have to do work to maintain a relationship. And I think that, I mean, that speaks volumes to a lot of things. I think it's especially our relationship with God.
1,000%.
But I want to touch on something only because you've mentioned it a couple of times, but I
Mhm.
want to be sensitive with it. You've mentioned a fear of rejection.
Mhm.
So as you have navigated through that, how have you overcome that fear in different ways in order for your to make room for relationships to
Mhm.
blossom, because
Mhm.
especially new ones,
Yeah.
because you know when you are developing new friendships, that is a very real thing, and it's and but you have to overcome it in order to be able to receive the fruit of your relationship.
Mhm.
So what did that look like, and how are you still navigating through it?
I don't know that I have necessarily fully like overcome it
Yeah.
as of yet. I
Yeah.
think it again, like I said, with everything else, it's still a daily work.
Mhm.
Um, for me, a lot of it started with really understanding what the root of that was,
Mhm.
um, and also self-forgiveness,
Mhm.
which is a daily practice.
Yeah.
And I think forgiveness of others
For
starts
sure.
with
Yeah.
self-forgiveness.
Yes.
So, um, just for context, I grew up with a single parent
Mhm.
and I didn't have a relationship with my father.
Mhm.
And unfortunately, he passed before I really got to have that conversation
Yeah.
about all of the things that come along with not having a father in the
Yeah.
house. Um, and so while it's not, all completely just that, I think that the roots of that have impacted a lot of different areas of my life.
Of course.
And I often talk about how, like, I have this need to constantly prove myself,
Mhm.
which has been a huge driver for a lot of my commercial
You
success
proving yourself to yourself or to others?
to other people.
Okay.
hmm
Okay.
I think I'm in a constant state trying to prove to myself.
Mm.
Again, more work. Still a work, still a work.
Yeah.
But that is another thing that I'm learning to release,
Right.
in terms of like, I am good enough as is without doing anything,
Yes.
just who I am, sitting here, being myself, having an honest conversation.
Mhm.
That is good enough. It
Yeah.
has nothing to do with what I look like,
Yeah.
has nothing to do with what I sound like.
Yeah.
I'm good enough because I'm his, you
Absolutely.
know? And so that has been this ongoing thing that I have to continuously, it's like I'm chipping away at something that I believed for, 30 plus years.
Wow.
And so that's why these relationships are so important to me, because they're helping me to see myself differently.
Yeah.
And being that mirror. I think everybody is this, but like, I'm so great at being a mirror for everyone else. I could tell you everything
Yeah.
that God has called you to do by having a conversation. Like, I could
Yeah.
just, but when it comes to me, it's like
I don't
crickets.
have to do that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's not as many crickets as before,
Yeah.
but it's a daily, like a very Mary Jane style. Like, I've written post-its and put it on my wall in my bathroom.
Yeah.
I have, I'll talk to myself in the
Yeah.
mirror.
Yeah.
I will, listen to all the things
Yeah.
about, how to come back to center and come back to self.
Mhm.
So I wouldn't say that I've overcome it, but I have developed and garnered more tools along the way to
Yeah.
really understand what that is, how to create distance between it and myself,
Mhm.
and know where I need to lean. Again, that leaning thing,
Yeah. Yeah.
lean more towards who God says I am
Yeah.
versus my own
Yeah.
understanding.
And does any of it stem from like confidence?
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
so for sure. I think, again, another conversation that my friends and I have is like, we grow up in America with these like Eurocentric ideals of beauty.
Of course.
And I mean, I have struggled with my weight since I can remember.
Yeah.
And that is another tape that just on and on and on and on. And so again, like reprogramming and really understanding that the gift is inside. It
Yeah.
has nothing to do with the wrapping.
Yeah.
Um, and so that's yeah, it's a lot of that. And again, the practices that I told you, like walking, and even the times when I'm able to get still enough and quiet enough to meditate, those are the things that really help me to shed
Yeah.
some of the extra noise that is just on loop
Yeah.
often.
And as you've been exploring more your calling to writing, does that help you at all too?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because it's like I literally say what I feel in my heart, but also what I feel God is asking me to say.
Okay.
And it's not about the feedback, but the people that it has resonated with.
Hmm.
Like I wrote a note called The Big Pause, and it was all of my
Okay.
reflections after my sabbatical.
Hmm.
And when I tell you, I was terrified to hit post,
Yeah.
terrified. Like I posted, then I deleted, and then I recorded myself like, oh, okay, we're gonna do it. Like, and then I was like, no, I'm not posting this.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, well, if I don't post it, I'm stopping God from moving.
Mm.
So I have to get out of the way and
Yes.
like remove my ego,
Yeah.
remove what I think it's supposed to look like, this editorial column that, you
Yeah.
know, no,
Yeah.
this is me speaking about. And that's the thing that I realized too is like me speaking on my own experience or you speaking on your own experience, there's no right or wrong way to do
No,
that.
not
And
at all.
so removing those expectations, and also, again, I'm in constant pursuit of curing perfectionism.
Yeah.
But once I posted it, it today is our most read,
Wow.
most shared
Wow.
story. And I was very, very honest and vulnerable as, a business owner talking about I'm closing my business for 2.5 months with no income,
Wow.
but I believe that I need to go through a great reset to really understand what God is trying to do through this business.
Absolutely.
So it's a lot of self-talk.
That makes me think about just how when you were mentioning your fear of pressing send
Hmm.
and giving it to the world, and you coming to the realization that like if you don't do that, then God's work isn't finished.
Yeah.
The first thing that came into my mind is like uh, not that Jesus would have done this
Hmm.
because he is God in human form, but like with all the gifts that Jesus was given to heal and to
Hmm.
teach and all these things, if he didn't use it and
Goodness.
allow people to experience it because of what God gave him,
Hmm.
how different would this entire
Yeah.
world, and like that feels grandiose because he did so many great
Right.
things, but we're assigned with similar tasks
Yes. Yes,
because
we are.
nothing new is being done under the sun.
Yeah.
It's all a recycle.
Hmm.
So the same things that Jesus did, we're being tasked to do, but just in ways that are specific to ourselves.
That's it.
And if we don't finish the work, then we're leaving stuff on the table.
That's it.
And it's not that, I mean, I said this the other day. It's like I don't like when the Christian community says that like if you don't do it, God's gonna give it to somebody else,
Hmm.
because it I think that dumbs down the individuality
Hmm.
of what God calls us to, and it makes us feel as though, okay, if I don't feel like I can do this at any given moment, then that means that God's gonna discredit the gift
Hmm.
from me and try and
Hmm.
give it to somebody else. And I don't think that's the case.
Hmm.
I think it's more so about empowering each other to know that what He has tasked you to do
Hmm.
has to be done through you.
Hmm.
It has to.
That's it.
Instead
Yes.
of like you are the person
Hmm.
and you have to do it.
Yeah.
He could do it through somebody else, and
But
he
it's not going to
might,
be the
but it's
same.
not going to be the
Hmm.
same. He's
Yeah.
not going to do it the same way.
Yeah.
And there's so many examples of that. God healed so many people, but he used different people to do it.
Yep.
And a lot of times it wasn't the same way.
Yep.
And I think that like as yourself and myself, and as we're growing and going to continue to face difficult experiences of pressing sin, we have to remind ourselves that if we don't finish the job,
Hmm.
if we don't
Hmm.
finish the work, then how many people are we hindering from
That's
experiencing
that's it.
his power and his glory and his
That's
testimony?
it.
Because there's only, I think that we're only tasked with so many people's lives that we're supposed to touch.
Right.
And if we don't do that, then they may never experience
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
And or maybe they will, but it won't be in the way that God designed it to be.
That's it.
And who are we to stop that? Because we feel some type of way.
Or we're scared.
Or
Like,
we're
wait,
scared.
what? Somebody said, what you're creating is blessing somebody else.
Yeah.
And I heard that, and honestly, it kind of like knocked a cloud from in front of my eyes, because I'm like, oh, that takes me out of the equation. It's not a,
1,000%.
and I think that's where we end up stumbling,
Yeah.
because we think it's all about us. I'll never forget, I was doing something in Portland for work, and the moderator was getting really nervous, and I was like, I just want you to know that your nerves is just your ego, afraid of how you're gonna look. Like, if you let your ego go and
There will be no
understand that you're
fear.
here to serve,
There will be
like
no
you
fear.
were here to ask a question that someone in the audience has prayed for.
Wow.
You know what I mean? Like, it's
Wow.
a totally different
Yeah.
experience. And
Yeah.
that's how I think. Like, I had a friend of mine that's like, he was telling me that um his brother was like talking about all the incredible work that he was doing, and like texting his friends and sending all blah, 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 and he was just like, I just feel so awkward and I don't know how to respond, and
Yeah.
I don't want all that attention. And I'm like, but what if it's not about you? What if
Yeah.
it's about you saying, yes, look what God did through me?
Right.
What if that's the opportunity that you
Yes.
have, and you're shrinking
It's so good.
because your ego showed up and was like, or not your ego, your scarcity or your fear showed up and was like, ooh, not too much.
Yeah. Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know? And
Yeah.
again, I'm talking to myself,
Yeah.
but
No,
like,
that's so good.
it's so important that we realize that, because at the end, it's really, we're here to experience miracles. That's it.
Yeah, I think one thing that I've consistently done since beginning this series is, before people show up, is praying like, God, I want you to remove every piece of me
Yep.
from this conversation, so that I'm not clouded, I'm not fearful of anything, I'm not thinking too much, and I want you to guide it and you to do exactly what's needed to be done in order for whoever's going to watch this, or even if it's just us two, or whoever may be in the room at the time, if whoever it's for, I don't want to be in the way of it.
That's it.
And that's helped me so much, because just doing this is scary sometimes, and I'm just like, it's a lot to talk about. This is, what if they don't speak? What, it's just so many things.
Yeah.
And instead, I get to just walk into it with a big smile and so much joy, and just be like, look, we're just gonna sit on the couch and allow God to control the conversation and see what happens.
Absolutely.
And I think that He shows up and does it every single time, and it's just such a blessing. But it feels comfortable, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's I think that's a good place to rest.
Okay.
But this was so good.
Thank you for having
Yeah,
me.
and I really, really appreciate your vulnerability and your honesty. And it is my hope that everything that you have shared not only empowers you and anyone that watches, but my hope is that everything that you are experiencing and growing through, you're just reminded of His presence in your life and how powerful you are. Because one thing that you did today that like really set the tone is when you kind of echoed that moment where you were believing God for a miracle, which is what it was at the time. And just me sitting here, hearing the power in your voice when you were going back into that space, I am just filled with so much hope over what He is going to do in your life, because you are so gifted, and He's given you so many tools and talents, and the communities that you're building, the things that He's tasking you to do, He's going to continue to show up for.
Thank you.
You will always have everything that is needed. And I hope that your trust remains true in everything that you experience. And there is nothing that will fall void in regards to your heart's desires, as long as you continue to do what you're already doing, which is communicating with Him, communing with Him, and allowing yourself to release it unto Him so that He can do it. And that goes for the monetary, the physical, the emotional, everything. He's going to provide it all. And I want you to find peace in that and know that it's true, because it's going to happen. And I want you to also know that it's okay to feel, and I want you to know that it's okay to have moments of the doubt and the fear and all those things, because like you mentioned, that's when God's going to show up, and that's when He's going to do His best work. Because when we're in those spaces of question and wonder, and we're pondering and we're unsure, that's when He comes and reminds us and does His best work. So embrace those feelings, be okay in them, just don't rest in it, and understand that He's going to step in and make a way. And when it's time for you to move again, know that He's guiding you the whole way.
I receive that. Thank you.
Absolutely. You're so blessed.
Thank you for creating the space.
Yeah.
I'm like melting into the couch. Usually it's so funny because usually I'm nervous and I'm fumbling over but like you really have created a space that is welcoming and warm and comfortable and not intimidating at all. That's why I was like, don't tell me about anybody else. It's just me and you. You can tell me now, but like, you know,
really.
And you know, I love you and your family.
Yeah, thank you. Love
you
too.
are all really just another walking miracle of what is possible.
Literally.
Yeah. And I know God is going to continue to use you as the vessel for all of your heart's desires, not some. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, and it will be revealed in due time. You're so young. You got, oh my God, so many things ahead of you.
Thank you.
You have no idea. And just being obedient enough to do this is the entry point to all of what God has for you.
Yeah.
To your destiny.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
I appreciate that. Yeah. I'm hopeful, you know, for both of us.
It shall come to pass.
It is.
Okay.
It is.
It shall.
There's no other way. So
thank you.
Thank you so much.